Welcome to the RICA Test Prep Overview and Preparation Strategies presentation. The faculty at the Graduate School of Education at Touro University in California has decided to put together this module around the RICA to help support you in preparing to take the test. The RICA takes about 4 hours and has 4 sections. The first section is multiple choice. It takes about 90 minutes. There's 2 short essays that we recommend you spend about 15 minutes each, so 30 minutes total. And the 2 long essays, which we recommend you take about 25 minutes each, so 50 minutes total. And then the case study, you should probably leave about an hour for yourself to answer that. So make sure you plan your time well. Either wear a watch or watch the clock as you are testing to make sure that you are not spending too much time on one section. A passing score is 220, and the test results are available within 4 weeks, sometimes sooner, depending on when you actually took the test. There's 5 domains. The first one is planning, organizing, managing reading instruction based on ongoing assessment. The second one is on word analysis. The third one is on fluency. The fourth one is vocabulary, academic language, and background knowledge. And the fifth one is around comprehension. There's 15 competencies, and I'd like you to stop the video now and just go through and read through some of these so that you can be familiar with the different terminology that they're using and ideas that they're hoping that you demonstrate by finishing this assessment. Here is the second half of the 15 competencies, so please take a minute to read through these as well. So the structure of the test, like I mentioned, there's 5 domains. And this is how many competencies of those 15 are in each one of these domains, and how much it's weighted. So you can see right here the word analysis is weighted the heaviest at 33%, and then it's the comprehension is the second highest weight. Then vocabulary, academic language, and background knowledge is 20%. The fluency is 13, and the planning, organizing, and managing reading instruction based on ongoing assessment is worth about 10% of your final score. This tells you how many multiple choice items are on that for each one of these domains. And you can see once again that the most is in the word analysis. And then the focused educational problems and instructional tasks, you can see that there's 1 for domains 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the case study is responding to all of the domains. So you can see how they kind of planned out this test to ensure that you're really demonstrating you're familiar with all 5 of the domains. So the test. So with this, there's actually 70 multiple choice questions that you're going to answer. You actually only need to get 40 correct to pass. 60 of them will be graded, and 10 of them are experimental questions. So they're not marked. The unfortunate thing is you don't know which ones are the experimental ones and which ones are the questions that you do need to answer and that are being graded. So it's best to answer each one, but if it kind of takes some of the ease off, just know that it's only 40 that you really need to get scored correctly. For the essays, they recommend for the short essays at about 75 to 125 words. For the long essays, it's 150 to 250 words. And for the case study, they're looking for about 300 to 600. Now, different people have different styles of how many words they use when they write. But the one thing I would say with this is you always want to make sure you're giving evidence and actually answering the question that they ask. I actually know some of the people who have done some of the scoring for the RICA, and they say the number one thing that they're frustrated with is that the person taking the test doesn't actually answer the question. So make sure you really review the question, you know what they're asking, and then that's what you answer. All right, so just some computer-based testing information. So you're going to go to the Pearson's Professional Centers, and they're all over California. And you'll first go through this on-screen tutorial, which part of it is a non-disclosure agreement, and the other part of it is for you to kind of practice how to use their website. So you'll have a little bit that's on time and progress. You'll have some that is on navigating the website, some how to use the scroll bar, how to answer multiple choice questions and practice that, how to write written assignments, and then also how to flag a question for review. What that means is that if you answer a question and you think, you know what, I'm not sure if that's the answer I want to go with, you want to come back to it, you can actually flag your response and then click up at the top of the screen, I think it is, and there's a little flag, and then you can go back and check your answers on different questions. They also have part of it that shows you how to use the navigation feature and then how you finish and end the test. So there are certain steps that you need to do in order to make sure that your test is graded. So the tips for taking the test is answer every question. Don't leave anything blank. Don't assess yourself while you're taking it. Positive self-talk. Now we know this with our students that it really does help them if they are being kind to themselves and speaking in positive terms. And so we need to do that same strategy for ourselves, especially during this test. There is a suggested order for taking the test, and that is to get those multiple choice questions out of the way right away, take about 90 minutes, then do the case study because that's going to take you a significant amount of time, and then go to the 2 long answer and then the 2 short answer. And then that leaves you about 10 minutes to edit any work that you want. And then another test-taking strategy is just find the answer that doesn't make sense. So one of the things I do when I'm taking a test like this is I actually write A, B, C, and D on the, at Pearson they actually give you a basically a whiteboard and a dry erase pen, and then you can actually write down A, B, C, and D, and that, you know, cross out the one that just doesn't make sense for that answer. And then that will at least increase your chances of finding the correct answer. So we like to remind teachers that RICA is not really the reality for teaching. So you may be working in an urban school. Maybe you don't have access to textbooks or to computer programs or to a reading program, but that's not really what the RICA is about. They actually want you to, or maybe you do have a paraprofessional, for example, but they want you to pretend like you don't have any of these things. And so what would you do, just you as a teacher, to make sure that your student is able to increase their reading and literacy skills? So one thing is, don't say you're going to delegate it to a paraprofessional. Don't bring in any bilingual abilities or unique skills that you have as a teacher. Use the keywords and phrases. And here's 3 types of instruction that you want to, you know, basically have tattooed on the inside of your eyelids so that you make sure to include this in your answers. But we do know that systematic, explicit, direct instruction is actually best practice when you're trying to teach someone how to learn. And so making sure that that is included in your answers is really, really important. So you'll hear that from me a few times over this overview. And then, of course, you want the multiple choice types of questions. They have the content questions and they also have scenarios. So just be aware of that and go back to the question or to the scenario and make sure that you're just paying attention to that. And as I mentioned before, make sure you answer each part of the question. Answer what they ask. Don't add the other things in there, just answer what they ask. Structure your essay with headings. They're totally fine with you using headings and organizing how you're answering. And then also drop in keywords and phrases. So this is why you have to do so much prep on the vocabulary of the RICA. Next, take the practice test. So right after this module, we want you to take the practice test if you haven't done that already, and you will you'll be going through and sharing or grading that using the answer key. And we will give you one for our session, but there's also the RICA also gives you one. So So this is the RICA Reading Instruction Competence Assessment, and this is the practice test that's found on the website. So you can see they go through and they have the multiple choice questions. So I'm just going to scroll through these really fast because of what I want you to see is after the multiple choice questions, we're still there, we're only at 40. 50, 55, and 60. Okay, so now you'll see that there's the open-ended questions, and you can go through and read that. So there's assignment A, and assignment B, assignment C, assignment D, and then the case study. At the end of that, and this is all part of the case study because they show you multiple types of documents, and then you're supposed to come up with a plan usually around that. And it's usually a plan of what you would do for the student based on the different assessments that you've gathered. The very last part of it is the answer key and evaluation information. So here you're going to go through and check your answers, and then it also tells you which competency that question was checking on, and so you can see which competencies you really need to focus on. Then they also have the criteria for the short answer and for the case study, and then sample responses for the open-ended questions. So I highly recommend you go through that. Once you have one of the practice tests completed, then you can figure out which competencies you need to really focus on based on the ones you were getting incorrect answers in. We recommend that you then make a plan for addressing those different competencies. One important thing is always to talk about a balanced approach. That's one thing that the RICA is looking for. And also is best practice in your life too. So include print-rich environments, and of course, remember I said I would say it a lot, systematic, explicit, direct instruction. Think about reading and writing opportunities for your learners, and also use solid skills and strategies based on the research. So in RICA world, you'd have a ton of resources and time to help the learners, and I know that that might not be the situation in your classroom, but you have to just imagine if it was in the perfect situation, how you would go about teaching this student how to read. So once again, check your practice test for the 15 competencies and map out your study plan. We always recommend backwards planning, and so you start out with what day are you planning on taking the test, and then based on that, how much time do you have, and then based on that, how many competencies do you really need to start studying for and becoming familiar with, and then how much time do you have, where can you study, all of those pieces, and then make a plan for what days and who and how you'll study. So once again, I'm going to go over some of the overarching ideas in the RICA. So one is the balanced reading, the skills and direct instruction, context of the literature and the writing, using academic language, using data to drive your decision making, and also the SIOP strategies, which are the sheltered instruction observation protocol strategies that you've learned about in a few of your classes. So as far as English language learner support, here's just some quick recommendations. So graphic organizers, building background knowledge, academic conversational vocabulary opportunities, having them interact with each other. So that's using groups or maybe videos, somehow have them speaking to each other and giving feedback to each other. Using modeling, guided practice, reteaching, manipulatives, realia, visual supports, and critical thinking. Get them talking, get them moving, get them interacting with each other is really the big thing. Learners who excel increase pace, increase complexity, they have more root words, they expand their learning, and they build on skills, which is all the pieces of Webb's depth of knowledge. And so it's beyond just recalling, it's actually demonstrating skills and concepts, strategic thinking, and extending your learning. We know that this to be the case, and that is one of the main reasons why the skills that they go over in the RICA are so important. This is also just the level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4 activities. I think this is really helpful just as far as when you're thinking about for the RICA how you would plan your instruction, then you're going to want to look at it in these types of terms. Some strategies, there's cognitive, metacognitive, and language. Cognitive is actually thinking about the story. It's note-taking, it's using a graphic organizer, it's learning key vocabulary. The metacognitive is how you think about thinking. So it's how you predict or infer, having students generate questions, asking themselves, am I understanding? If not, what can I do to support myself? It's making a mental image or visualizing what's going on. For language, being able to preview, skim, or scan or review, learning morphology, logical guesses based on the context, drawing pictures, using verbal and nonverbal cues to know when to pay attention. So these are all strategies that you can talk about in your short answer and case study. I like this from standard to mastery. You can see we start out with assessments, and then we move to what standard we're trying to meet, and then we plan out our instruction, and then we critically reflect on our instruction, and then we go back and we assess to make sure that they've gotten the standard that we were planning, and then the circle starts again. So some terms to remember. So we've got the phonological awareness, which is the awareness that spoken language is made up of smaller units. We've got phonemic awareness, which is that spoken words are made up of sounds. We've got the alphabetic principle, which is that speech sounds are represented by letters. And then phonics, the relationship between sounds and letters. And then morpheme, the smallest unit of meaning. Cueing systems are a good thing to remember. So we've got the graphophonic, the semantic, and the syntactic. Language arts, so reading, writing, listening, speaking, viewing, visually representing. Content-specific language, so that's academic language, but also having the conversational language as well. Syntactical words, so those are transition words, for example. And then also knowing or memorizing the reading levels, so the independent, instructional, and frustration levels. Always state the grade level of the text and the student's reading level. So Joe reads at the 4th grade text at the instructional level. Joe reads at the 3rd grade text at the independent level, or independently, that type of thing. So you'll want to memorize this, and you'll want to insert that into your responses. Knowing about leveled books, so there's pre-primer, primer, and 1st grade. Reading levels during kindergarten and 1st grade, then of course 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. When it says grade level 3.2, that's 3rd grade in the 2nd month. The Lexile level is from 1 to 1400, and then they also have guided reading levels of A, B, and C, and as you move up in the alphabet, that means you're getting higher. You could see the questions kind of phrased and the evidence given in these different forms. So it's really important to know exactly how the leveled books work. Strategies on how to help struggling readers, creating a positive and safe learning environment, focusing on skills, assess and reteach, chunking into manageable units, so either morphology or onset and rhyme. This is a big one, universal design for learning, having multiple means of representation, action and expression and engagement, having concrete examples, for example, and then of course the instructional strategies of, and these are all research-based. So there's the read aloud, there's choral reading, there's literature circle, book club, or thematic reading. We've got the reading assessments, so there's the pre-assessment, the 5 fingers, personal interest inventories, oral responses, one-to-one testing, informal reading inventories, running records, so that's like the DRAs, graded word lists, and the Dolch list. So those are all ways that you can assess someone's learning, and because I don't see it here, the Dibbles is also a very common way reading assessment that you'll hear about a lot. So here's just the final thoughts. One, make sure to take the practice test and then study, study, study using all of your materials for weeks up until the test. So flashcards are a really great tool. Study groups, reviewing the textbook assignments and course materials, and then get lots of rest the night before you test. Trust what you know and don't try to be creative with your answers. The RICA just wants to hear what the right answer is. So next, I'm going to go through, and we have put this all on a Canvas website. So I'm going to just show you. When you get to Canvas, what we'll send everybody out a invite to Canvas, and then when you get there, you'll create your account. You can put your lovely picture on it, and then you can see that we just go right in order from top to bottom. So the RICA overview and take the practice test. So here's the task list. So we first want you to watch the video that this video is all about. And then I've actually attached this PowerPoint that supports the video right here if you want to play around with the PowerPoint. Then I want you to complete the practice test. So here's a full practice test. In the workshop, we're giving a smaller practice test, which you can do, but it's always helpful to continue to take different practice tests. So there's the RICA practice test that I actually showed you in the video. To make sure you have the textbook ready for RICA 4th edition of Zerillo. And when you click on this, it actually takes you to the website. You can click on that, and then you can get to the website for buying this textbook if you don't already have it. I'll go back. And then we have the CTC RICA test information. So once again, this is the RICA. It's got all the same information, talks about the domains and the content specification. So those are the 15 competencies. You can, sign up for the test here, learn about registration fees and whatnot by clicking on there and going down to the written exam. And let's see, and back again. Then we have the different support materials. So this is, like I said, the PowerPoint that I just went through. Then we have the practice test and the practice test answers. This is the test that we did in the workshop. So if you have gone to the workshop, you're fine. And then this is just the presentation from the workshop if you are interested in that. And then you can see that each domain, we've got another PowerPoint. And then we have one material that we have to support you is the Quizlet domain practice flashcards. Now I do want to show you a little bit about how easy this is. So I'm going to put in here Quizlet and then RICA prep. And then I'll just put domain 1. And I'm going to show you, you can see there's all sorts of flashcards here. We picked the one right here. It's got, oh, not this one. This one has 18 terms. And with Quizlet, you can do either the flashcards, so it'll go through all the different flashcards, or you can give yourself a test, or you can play a matching game. So it'll start the game. So you've got a lot of different things that you can do. Whoops, not now. I also want to show you, keep going back. I also want to show you the others because as you can see, a lot of people have made the different Quizlets. So this one's got 78 terms. I think this is the one we linked up with. Right here, we've got domains 1 through 3. There's 123 terms. So what I would recommend doing is going to the different Quizlets. It can't hurt you unless, of course, they have filled something out incorrectly. So go ahead and just take a look at these and use them as a study guide. But if something doesn't seem right, then know that you could be right on your guess as far as what it is that the answer should be. But for each one of the domains, we are going to have a PowerPoint, and the PowerPoints were all designed off of the Zerillo book. So we basically outlined each one of the books with recommendations. And then, like I said, there's the Quizlet. The other recommendation we make is for you to get into study groups. So in the RICA Prep sorry, there we go. The RICA prep that we're going to be doing in on May 8th, or once a semester, you can see that we actually are, we of course go over the Canvas, and then we have you guys split up into groups, and you're going to pick your 3 domains that you really want to work on, and then we have a survey for you to also take, and then if you fill out the survey after the workshop, then we can put your email, and we'll send an email out. Let me just put that in there. You can see, what did you like about the prep workshop? What didn't you like? What would you like more information on? Is there anything else you'd like us to know? And then if you want to be in the study group, we'll probably keep this open for at least a week after the RICA prep, and then what we'll do is we will send a group email to everybody who wants to do kind of a study group, and then it'll be up to you to organize the time. And as you can see here, I said work with your group and or librarian to organize a space and time for your group to meet. And so that will help you form some of these groups and get some additional support for passing the RICA. If you have any questions, always reach out to us. Let us know what's going on. We do want to support you, so if you let us know how we can, then we will make sure to do that. Have a great day, and thank you for being so patient.